Greetings, rise and shine, family. Once again, I am your host, that voice in the wilderness, here to bring you a message of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice to those who have ears to hear and eyes to see, who are of one mind, one heart, and one spirit. Today's video deals with the truth about electoral votes. Allow me to take the time to show the results of the so-called electoral votes of the presidential election that made Joe Biden president over Donald Trump. Take the time to ponder on these numbers as you learn the truth about electoral college votes here on the Call of Noah. Now, without further ado, Dr. Hindu I.L. Henderson with his beloved host, Shelley Bowling.
Right now we have people here in the U.S. in political offices, some of them coming from areas that you would not necessarily expect to hear from, especially speaking up and encouraging President Trump, because they appear to be coming from the opposite side of the political aisle, if you want to say that. Tulsi Gabbard happens to be a representative to the House out of Hawaii. She was also military, for those of you that may be remembering her. And, of course, coming out of Hawaii, pretty much, if she was going to run for office, she'd have to run for political office as a Democrat, because pretty much that's all Hawaii has. But she has been encouraging President Donald Trump, as he's been pardoning people, to also pardon Edward Snowden and Julian Assange. And she has brought out the truth regarding how they were true whistleblowers, bringing the truth to the world of the corruption and the perversion involved within the political system of what is commonly known, if you still want to call it that, of the United States of America. Now, there's laws that have been passed in the U.S. to protect whistleblowers, but that also does not protect those known as informants. There's a huge difference between those that are bringing forth the truth transparently for the world to see of the corruption, and those that are using and abusing and manipulating for self-benefit. So I want to thank Ms. Gabbard for bringing forth that information to the world. In fact, she has even brought a piece of legislation, House Resolution 1162, 1175, and 8452, for those charges to be dropped.
In the past, it would have been a great challenge for the rest of the nations to be able to find those who was manipulating systems and placing in leaders by way of coups, placing in leaders by way of false elections, placing in leaders by something that they would classify as some electoral vote, knowing that the electoral vote or the electoral college has to be people that own land, and knowing that that particular nation cannot claim any heritage, neither can they claim any ownership to any land in which they may find themselves now traveling to or even residing on. their electoral process has been a false process from the beginning. Their process to say that they're choosing by way of what would be the popular vote is also a false system. For it seems that they always find the numbers to be less than what is greater of the people of their would-be area, and still classifying some so-called would-be popular winner in the aspects of placing an improper leader in their leadership position. And it's all about whichever one of their leaders that they can find that they can force them to do certain things in a manner in which they know that they're not going to get any opposition, or they're not going to get any disagreement or disapproval. They know that the leaders that they choose and place into position that they can use and at will. They've only had a few of leaders in what would have been known as the United States would-be authority, the chain of authority, if they might deem it to be such. They've only had a few leaders that were in opposition to what the global world would have known to be nothing more than these groups in which classified themselves to be elites, or the elite, or the groups that classified themselves to be the Illuminati, or the groups that classify themselves to be some secret society that is so secret that they do not even share the information of success or the information of the ability to be successful with anyone else but themselves. This is not considered by any would-be a chance. I know. I don't like bringing your memory to these times. I don't even like bringing it up because it seems that the people have all but forgotten exactly what took place during those administrations, those time periods, those great presidents in which they themselves said that they voted them in. And believe it or not, there were times that they said they brought some of them in by popular vote. Others, they said, kind of slipped in by the Electoral college votes. But the Electoral college votes are not truly votes, and everybody now has already recognized and realized that. And very much so, because the Electoral college votes were supposedly votes that would have been coming from those that would have been classified as the true representatives of each state. But they just wasn't just any would-be representatives of each state. Those representatives of each state would have been those who would have owned the land. Stay with me. I'm just opening up another can of worms here so that all of the people of the would-be so-called United States of America will recognize that the only reason now they want to dig into your Congress once again and do away with the Electoral college votes, because they know for them to do a real test to really identify Electoral college votes, they would realize that over the course of a period of time now, they have not had not one Electoral college voter that was a true voter. Why? I know most of you now can already tell me that without me even telling you. But let me tell you anyway. It makes me feel good, just like it does you, to be able to tell before anybody else can tell it, so let me do it for you. Because none of them own any land in what is known as the land in which they keep calling the United States of America. It's unobtainable. They cannot even obtain the land to own it. I'm talking about the visitors, those that are known to be German Americans, those that are known to be Russian Americans, those that are known to be Chinese Americans. We could go on and on and on. So you have to remember that even those that are known to be African Americans cannot own America. They cannot even be part of the Electoral college. No, not just because they wear a first name that does not identify with America is because they're not originally from that land. That's why. Electoral college can only be those that own the land outright. No, they can't come with something that they would classify to be somebody's deed to some house or some place on Park Avenue. That's not those in whom own the Electoral College. The Electoral College is not those that can consider themselves to be done went down and got a great big old grant or some great big old loan from some so-called would-be high-powered bank, from some high-powered bank executive, and come back and classify themselves to be landowners. That's not how it works. The Electoral College cannot be those who, just because they had a way of being able to capture a few black folks and classify them to now be their niggers, their slaves, their pets, their servants. You just can't do that and then write yourself as being the owner of their land and present yourself as being the new Electoral College. It don't work like that. Well, that's what's been happening now. For 45 men that has been classified as some so-called leaders of a land, and which they themselves will not even now come forth and speak the truth. They won't do it. Challenge them. There's those of them that still living. Not all of them are lying in graves with those lies wrapped around their necks. Not all of them are still lying there. There's still those that are alive. Ask Jimmy Carter. Ask Mr. Peanut Farmer himself. How much land do he truly own outright without some deed, or even saying that his dad used to work for Mr. Johnson and somehow Mr. Johnson came up dead and Mr. Johnson was a black man, so his dad took it over and decided to share those would-be peanuts and classify himself as being a peanut sharecropper. You don't get the word share, do you? Sharecropper. Who's he sharing with? That's the question. He haven't told you he was a sharecropper with, right? He was just cropping, right? A sharecropper. Because he was sharing with someone. He was sharing somebody else's land. He was sharing somebody else's blood, sweat, and tears. Sharecropper, I would say. He was not an Electoral College representative. And right now, nobody cares about them getting rid of the Electoral College. It hasn't been proper since day one. Since day one of their so-called voting. John Hanson would have known exactly who the Electoral College voters were. He would have known. Why? Because John Hanson was the first president of the United States, if they might even deem to call it that. And he was a black man. And those Electoral College would have been representatives that he was using as voters were black men and women. No, not Madam C.J. Walker. Stop it. It was way before her time as well. So they didn't wait around for the men to fall apart, for the women to take charge. So stop it. That's not what happened. Sounds good now that all of the unmelanated men have found themselves with no backbone and half past an hour being nothing more than a jellyfish. So now they want to say because they don't have a backbone and they can't find a bone at all, they will just slither through every hole they can as a jellyfish would to pretend to be some shape or form of being able to bring forth some feminine force because they themselves can't find a sack of balls enough to be able to classify themselves to be strong enough to do so. Stay with me. Yes. I said that in one voice, in one breath. So now you should realize why I'm so tired majority of the time. It's not easy. Not easy doing what I'm doing. I know you'd probably say every big mouth from Louisiana or possibly Georgia or Alabama could be able to do what I'm doing, right? I think not. The last one I seen trying to do what I'm doing, let's just say, he wasn't happy when I passed him by. Right now, your government's still trying to find some way to move in some so-called would-be vote, where the popular vote can just slide past the Electoral College. You know why? Because this year, they were challenged based upon the Electoral College. Let me tell you what their challenge was. Their challenge was to prove to us that some, cracker is what the word said on the paper, prove to us what cracker ever came to this land and own land that he might be able to be classified as an Electoral College representative. And that is what stopped them in their tracks. And they began to look all over the place for other reasons and other ways to be able to cast votes, that they don't have to deal with the Electoral College voters anymore, because now they realize that they're all going to be right back to where they first started out being, true landowners, and for them to be that, they would have to be black, because they're the only ones that have treaties, patents. And without the treaties and patents, the deeds don't even exist. Electoral College, in case you're still taking your notes. The United States of America government is trying quickly to do away with it, for the simple fact that they know already that there is no one that will qualify out of a Caucasian world of Caucasians that are in the land that will be able to qualify to be truly an Electoral College representative. Not one. So stop it. I don't care anything about you saying your grandfather died and he was black and somehow it made it into the hands of his white son and now you got it. Let me help you out. You wouldn't qualify, because you would have to be indigenous to the land. Yes, autochthonous. That means that you would have had to begin here, start here, and be prepared to die here. And you don't qualify for none of the above in which I just spoke of. None of it. Electoral College is none other than the people in whom many of them now are lying behind tombstones dead. And America has just wrote them off. They believe that they're gone. They believe that they don't exist anymore. Let me help you out. Just because you still had Abraham Lincoln statue standing up in a corner somewhere lording over some would-be nigger that you would classify to be some so-called free nigger in which he is just allowing to go free. See, you have to remember, you still got some black folk out there, and they still look at that statue, and they're still in fear to come out. So they haven't came out yet. Yeah, you still got those like Paul Revere, and they're still riding horses, carrying these long sabers. And you have to remember, you still got some black folks that just haven't come out yet. They're still hiding out, let's just say that. And then you got these guys walking around with these clipboards, coming because they're the censors, all right? That's not what those black folks think they are. Some of them think they're just plain old bill collectors and they don't want to be bothered one way or the other. That's why the album came out. Let me help you out, Mr. America. Let me help you out with all of your shields, with all of your suits, with all of your masks in which you're wearing, Mr. America. I need you to understand that those black folks are preparing right now as we speak to come out. They're going to come out. They're going to step out on my word. You know why? Because they're about to receive their land back. All of it. No, not just the part that's over by the sea. No, not just the part that's up in Napa Valley, California. They're about to receive all of it. Everything. Get prepared. It's coming. It's called restoration. Restoring. Not reparations. Asheville, North Carolina. I need you to hear this. I own you. I own you, North Carolina. I already own you. So you can't give me something that I already own. You can't give me that. You can't give me reparations. You know why? Because I am the one to bring you what you need. I will bring you a respirator, not just something you classify to be some so-called reparation. I ain't going to bring you a reparator. I need to bring you an incubator. Because you still have not yet fully developed. If you think for 1 minute that I'm so ignorant and stupid that I don't know that you don't have anything to give. Donald J. Trump has said that now the only way he will leave the White House is that the Electoral College votes, they will have to reflect to him that the Democratic president-elect Joe Biden has been chosen by the Democratic Electoral College votes. Is the only way that the Democratic president-elect Joe Biden will he himself allow him to go into the White House to be the commander-in-chief. Everybody's now, I heard you. I hear you saying that the Electoral College has already voted and gave him some 306 Electoral College votes, correct? A lie. A straight lie. Because, excuse me, with no offense, those white men and women who sat on a board of whatever many number that they so found themselves to be cannot classify themselves as the Electoral College votes to put any white man as a commander-in-chief over a black nation. You hear what I just said? They can't do it. And I'm going to show you just how you people are not really even focusing on the Electoral College votes. Because the Electoral College can only come from those who own the land. There is not one Caucasian. There is not one person of what is known as the heritage or of the ancestors of some Eastern European world can be classified as being any of a college or an electoral or even as a so-called vote in America when it comes down to the land, because none of them are descendants and none of them are those who represent the land. And thereby those votes are fictitious votes that has nothing to do with the land owners of the land. Let me help you out, because it's obvious you're not paying any attention to what they're saying. I'm going to ask you now, ask you very carefully. I want you to answer this for me. Right now, when looking at the electoral votes, have you added them up? Have you added them up yet? Let me tell you what they're doing. many representatives do you have in the House of Representatives? How many? I heard somebody say it right. In the House of Representatives, there's 432 participants. 432. How many do you have in the Senate? How many representatives do you have in the Senate? Let me help you out. 100. 435 in the House Senate. 100 in the House Senate, correction. In the House Senate, we have 100. In the House of Representatives, you got 435. Is that not correct? Which gives you a total of what? 535 members. 535. We would say that. Now remember, normally we always speak of 538 given the would-be so-called vice president and the president added. Is that not correct? So we're looking at 538 of the would-be so-called representatives for us as would be our so-called government in which they deem to be the United States of America. Is that not right? 538, you would say, would be a total seating if we might look at our House of Representatives, our House Senate being a 535 plus 2. That gives us a total of what? I heard somebody say it right. That's 538. Now, when given the Electoral College and the votes right now, they tell you that Donald Trump sits at 232 votes. They're telling you that Joe Biden has won with a count of 306 votes. 232 and 306 would give you a count of what? Wow, you added it up correctly. Get you 538, correct? Wow, I stopped right there because everybody's mind should have clicked into the truth right now. There is no such thing as no so-called electoral college or no electoral college vote. They're using your representatives to put your president in the White House. And yet still they're pulling this manipulation. They're using you as nothing more than Dorothy, who has now landed on the Wicked Witch of the West. And she's got to get out of there somehow. And the only way she's going to get out, she's got to first go through all of the things in which she must go through just to be able to see the wizard himself. Because the magical, mythical system in which they have you under, wow, you haven't gotten it yet. 232 counted up. That's what they say that Donald Trump now holds. 232 votes. They say that Joe Biden has won it with a landslide of 306 votes versus 232 votes of Electoral College votes. When all the time you're looking at nothing more than 538 would-be so-called ballots. And they all came from within the government itself without any one of you having any word, mouth, expression, thought, feeling. It was never on their or in their intentions to even include you. I rest my case. Now that Donald J. Trump has already figured that out through listening to Dr. Henderson express the truth about what they deem to be some so-called government class of world history, or something that they might even classify as being American history. It seems that the teachers had it all wrong. And they also sought to dumb down not only themselves, but you as well, to believe that they were having a new system that was a fair system of elections, to bring in another jackleg leader and call him the commander-in-chief of a black nation that has only had one true chief, and he has always been known as Yah Allah, the one in whom they always would sing to him praises every day, every night, every morning. They would sing praises to him by saying Yah, 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 and he would expressively show his gladness to them by shedding his tears upon the land that was called rain, and thereby replenishing their. But meantime, perhaps, baby, this is just a little too deep for some of you.